So this morning in the Daily Brief, I talked about how Sersky said that it's actually begun. The Russian offensive has actually started in Sumy and Kharkiv regions. Now, that doesn't mean it's everywhere necessarily, but he said, he continued and said, we have seen an almost twofold increase in the number of enemy offensives on all major directions. So I don't know how coordinated or rolled out this will be, but something's happening here, right? And then I saw this, the forces have spent 13 months and lost over 5 divisions worth of tanks and thousands of troops attacking toward Pokrovsk. So they really, really want Pokrovsk. It's been over a year that they've been trying to take Pokrovsk. So then I want to couple it with this, and this is my big story right now. Okay. The rate of Russian advances in Ukraine has been steadily declining since November of 2024, in part due to successful Ukrainian counterattacks in eastern Ukraine. Now, one of the big pieces of that has been drones, and the big piece of the drones has been that they've been able to really use drones almost like combined arms warfare, right? I mean, they're short on artillery compared to their peers, but the use of drones has really allowed them to keep the infantry assault from being really overly productive for the Russians. So it's been productive for the Ukrainians in killing Russian soldiers. But yeah, the drones have been significant. Okay, the UK Ministry of Defense reported on April 5 that Russian forces advanced 143 square kilometers in Ukraine in March of 2025. So sometimes it feels like when I'm reporting the news, it feels like, well, Russia's advanced here, 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 and here, and the Ukrainians have advanced here. Okay, but they're chipping away at it, and they're slowing down the rate of advance. So what's happened here, like back in, let's see, it was October, and then really a lot in November, December, and January. I mean, that was like the height of the Russians' attack, the waves of Russian attack where they were actually gaining some ground. And then it's been slowing down ever since. So 143 square kilometers in Ukraine in March, as Ukrainian forces conducted several tactical counterattacks in the cross direction. The UK Ministry of Defense reported that the rate of Russian advances in Ukraine has decreased each month since November. Now, they're still advancing, but they're advancing a good deal slower as the Ukrainians are able to slow them down. And if you look at a map of just how much ground that they've taken this year, for the amount of losses, it's really pitiful. Very small territory, hundreds of thousands of losses. And so when I'm reporting this, part of the difficulty here is seeing the size, the scale, how intense things are. It's hard to explain. It sounds worse than sometimes it is as far as how much ground the Russians have taken. Okay, Russian forces seized roughly 730 square kilometers in November, and then 393 square kilometers in December, and then 326 square kilometers in January, and 195 square kilometers in February. So it's been declining and declining and declining, and that's good. I mean, it's really interesting to see those trends. And here's the monthly Russian gains of Ukraine in November to March. And you can see it now. There's two different metrics here simultaneously. There's an ISW showing this scale going down. And then there's the UK Ministry of Defense showing it as well. Both of them are on a downward trajectory. Now, you have to ask yourself why. There's military technology. There is up through November. Now, remember, November presidential election, up through just before that, they were kind of starved in September and October of the materials that they needed. Between November and January, the Biden administration let the spigots flow back again, and there was a lot of military armament starting to flow back into Ukraine. So that was part of the reason why. But I think a bigger part of the reason why is this. This guy, he's a soldier with the call sign Rambo who signs munitions for drones. He's a paratrooper of the 25th Sichtslav Brigade defending Pokrovsk. He's from Kryvyi Rih. Just 2 days ago, his wife and child heard the explosions that took the lives of those 18 people. He's defending his family and his country from the T-state that is Russia. Now, with that, if you're defending your country, if you're defending your family, it's a very different experience than if you're, conscripted. So let's hear what he has to say. It's completely unfair that they have the kind of weapons that they do, and we don't. And we have to fight with what we've got. Well, I mean, that's the reality. You got to fight with what you've got, and that's all you can do. But we're doing a blank good job. Wherever the 25th Brigade is holding the line, they won't get through. I can tell you that with full confidence. What do I feel? What can I say? Tears come to my eyes. I keep all my emotions to myself and just do my job. And that's all. Well, I mean, what can he do? This is just the reality of where he is. But when you're in his position, when the enemy's in front of you and your wife and children are behind you, I don't mean literally behind you or just even close behind you, but when you know that if the Russians are successful, bad things are happening to your family, you're motivated in a very different way than the average Russian conscript soldier is. So that's explanatory of what's happening here, I think, to a large degree. The momentum, Napoleon talks about how the moralist to the physicalist, 3 is to 1. So the morale for the Ukrainians, even though they've had a hard run, even though it's been very difficult, is far higher on their side than it is on the Russian side. Now, will an advance continue, or will the Russians continue to advance? Sure, they'll continue to take some ground. That's almost inevitable that they're going to continue to take ground. Putin talks a lot about wanting to have a ceasefire. He's not going to have a ceasefire. He's not at all interested in a ceasefire. Not without maximalist objectives, because he believes that he can take things on the ground. But the Russian advance has slowed. In fact, if you look at the map and you look at the Russian advance in 2022, and then it was rolled back in 2023, what you had there, 2024 has been an abysmal year for the Russians, and 2025 isn't looking a whole lot better just yet. Part of the rest of the picture, there's multiple puzzle pieces here. I want to give you another puzzle piece, and that is that they're just kind of running out of stuff. They can't really. The Russians are tired. They have men at the front that are exhausted, that, they just kept sending these meat waves into battle, and they're worn down. Of course, the Ukrainian defenders are worn down too. But if you're worn down and your wife is behind you, and you know that bad things are going to happen to your wife and kids if you don't do something about it, you're going to do something about it. So, okay, there's that, but they also are using drones, and this is borne out in the statistics about the vehicles that are destroyed regularly. The drones, when they're not attacking, when there's not major waves of assaults, those drones are going behind them and hitting as many vehicles as they can. Now you have a problem getting material to the front lines on the Russian side, and being able to get your ammunition and whatever else up to the front lines. And so that's also explanatory of what's going on here with this chart. Okay, so that's it. That's why are monthly Russian gains in Ukraine going down? Why are they making smaller and smaller advances? I think all those pieces fit together to help explain that. All right, thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and the coffees. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.